Yeah, I like a keyword, and I think a few artifacts need this as well. You could have a keyword that basically it's like whatever clever term you want to say, but and then a number next to it, and like at that shard number, its effect gets opened up. So
That
like
could be cool.
something, yeah,
That's nice. Yeah.
like like a hammered
And
chest plates or something.
and I wouldn't mind if that number was something like 150 or 200. Like you
Yeah,
really have to dig deep
right,
to
right,
unlock its effect.
right.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
We are doing State of the Train. So what do we decide? Do we want to do units or spells?
I think units.
Yeah, we can do units first. Yeah. I
Okay.
should change this.
I think a lot of the spells are kind of dependent on the units.
I just gotta get my YouTube stream settings to be appropriate. In particular, I need to
immediate
What?
thoughts for that classmate no one wants for projects.
It's yeah. I have some too. I've had a reawakening on this card.
Whoa! You better not put Shard Channeler as not the bottom.
Oh, there's no Chandlers above green for me.
Yeah, I had to get rid of the red. I had to switch out the red title. I think it was like you only need me and myself. But yeah, I had to because that was not very too narrow of a name.
Yep, all three channelers. I agree.
Hold, please. We're not starting yet. Gosh, you guys, gotta relax.
Well, we got to turbo this thing
For a minute. Just
I
relax.
have D&D tonight, and you have
Guys, if I
to
can't
go.
if I can't turn on monetization, then why are we even doing this? All right. I'm good now. All right. So we start with Animus of Speed.
Sorry, give me a second.
Maybe we start with an introduction. So on today's episode of State of the Train, we're going to be cutting Awoken in half because of like the length of the videos and also because of some time constraints on us. So we're going to do the units first, and then we'll do the spells in the next State of the Train episode. We got Narninian back. We dragged him. He wasn't willing to do Hellhorn, but he accepted Awoken. The prince offended him a long time ago, and he's never really forgiven him. And
Sundays are just not my thing.
Well, then we can do Mondays. Mondays are fine for me.
Yeah, I can do Mondays.
Yep. I like Awoken, by the way. I don't know if anyone knows this about me.
But we're not talking about the champions.
whoa. Okay, then.
All right. So, how do we want to start? So we're starting with Animus of Speed. Any initial thoughts?
Great essence. Mediocre.
I would just say okay essence. It's not.
No. I mean, obviously, you can get it. You can get it in the shop, but it's not guaranteed. I like picking it up as a first draft unit, and it often will carry you through floor 2. And then you can use it as an essence for your sweeper later. I think as a standalone unit, its 3 health is so bad. It's so bad, but I think it serves a pretty good purpose in getting you through the early floor and then transitioning to an essence later.
It used to be a pretty decent cleanup unit. Like I would often just take it in pre DLC as like a top floor clearer for any garbage that got through my other floors. But it doesn't work in the post DLC world so well.
Yeah, and after patient got added, it doesn't even really work against patient, unless you have some HP. But you need at least a large stone on it, or
yeah. The top floor yeah, just the fact that you can't use it as a cleanup anymore for like patient or obviously divinity is kind of rough. I think it's a great early utility, and I think this is one of those units that I think doesn't make it into most decks past the first few floors, but often can be worth it to help you get through specifically the second floor.
Yeah, I've recently started to like this a bit more. I've always liked the infusion, but I never really liked this unit until maybe the last month or so. And I guess it became the tough thing is like in a vacuum, it's not a bad unit really. It's the fact that you have 3 amazing backliners in this clan that you just don't want to see Animus' speed compared to them, as I feel why it kind of gets the bad rap. But like if I compare it to say Horned Warrior, it's actually a similar unit. Like multi-strike is more preferable to quick usually, but let's say in the case that I found 25 HP upgrade and then one or the other, they're essentially the same unit at that point, and Animus' speed is almost even better. Saying if I found multi-strike for Animus' speed versus if I found quick for the Horned Warrior. So it's like in a vacuum, it's not too bad of a unit. And I've been settling for it a little more lately, and it gets the job done as a backliner because it doesn't have the sweep, it doesn't have the massive multi-strike that you get from the really the big 3, shall we call them. But if you don't get them and you just don't find anything better, it can work. I've had it do some pretty good work. It does have the typical problem of needing multi-strike, though, I would say. But if you find it, it can work. I'm inclined to say it's almost like yellow to orange.
Yeah, the thing with that though is that multi-strike and quick are like the value of multi-strike is much better than quick, much more, and then you probably always need multi-strike to win a run, even though in some runs you don't need multi-strike, but typically you need the multi-strike, but for quick you don't necessarily need quick. There are always a lot of ways to get around quick, and so it's like having a multi-strike, like innately it's much better than having just quick.
So there are a couple things that I think mark the unit down. One is that it's in Awoken. And Awoken has quick. It has it as an enchant, and it has it as a spell. And unlike multi-strike, you can't stack quick, which is, I think, a little bit of the downside. However, I think it's a really good unit to pull from Conscription Notice in particular. I actually really like seeing Animus of Speed from Conscription Notice. 45 damage for 1 capacity is like really good. And most other Conscription units will just die because they don't have quick, or because, adding +20/+20 is not like, it's not crazy for a lot of units, but actually for a quick unit, it's pretty good. Yeah, I think it suffers from the low health, I think, more so than the other example, like you talk about Horned Warrior. Horned Warrior is in a clan with tons of armor, and Animus Speed is in the clan with tons of healing. So this is, I honestly think the worst thing about Animus' Speed is that it's in Awoken. I think in any other clan, it's actually more like yellow, or pure orange. But because it's in an Awoken, I mark it down a little bit, because its value you can get through a rare card and through a champion upgrade path at level 1. It is really, that's the part that's really kind of lame, unless they found a way to stack quick in a meaningful way. I don't know what that would be, but currently that for me is a little bit of a problem.
It's a weird spot for me because I don't think it's only works in niche combos. I think the essence has inherent value in a lot of the time, like because sweepers are in the deck, just adding quick to a sweeper is worth the essence for me a lot of the time. And the fact that it can get you through the early floor is great. So it's and then it drops off after that. So I think I would put it in yellow personally, but I think it's weird in that it's not only working in niche combos. I think it's commonly useful.
I think yellow, I would put
Yeah.
towards the front of yellow, depending on what else we put there.
Yeah, I think that can work. Yeah. All right, moving on.
Then it's a bigger, more exciting brother.
Yep.
Animus of Will. I've used it less and less for its essence and more as it is. I actually find its essence to be kind of bad over time.
Yeah.
Like it's okay, but like it's I think the worst of the essences with multi-strike.
This one has dropped off a lot for me. It used to be like one of the premium units in the clan, but I think with increased scaling health from enemies for shards, it drops off.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's yeah, I mean the multi-strike 2, it's very like nothing, no other cards has multi-strike 2 in any of the clans, so it's just very premium, but you do need a lot of support for it, and there are cases where you don't necessarily get enough support for the card, and then it doesn't really work with Razor Sharp Edge as well. Yeah.
One of the best units to put large stone on though. Still.
Yeah.
Which is rare. You rarely have a unit that's actually good with large stone these days, but Animus of Will is quite good.
Yeah, obviously this one is probably one of the more context sensitive cards. Like with just large stone and plus 10, it's not enough to carry you. So obviously it really depends on your spells.
It's like pretty much right there with both sweepers for me.
Interesting.
What it lacks for in the flat wave clear, I think it really excels for in terms of being able to guarantee relentless rounds and also clear the mini bosses, which I from time to time with sweepers, if I don't find multi-strike or like an ensnare, I just often don't have the proper answer for those mini bosses. Even if I'm scaling a pretty good amount, it's like I got to get through like 1,000 health. But it's hard for me to really prefer one or the other. Usually it's whatever the first one I find out of those three. The Husk Hermit, Shattered Shell, and Animus of Will is the one I'll go with, unless I really have a good reason to take the other one when I find it like second. So I don't know. The thing I like about Animus is it really doesn't require, like you said, it can make use of large stone. It can make use of quick. It can make use of additional multi-strike. It can make use of just the flat, even battle stone or 25 health upgrades. So it's so hard to like miss with it in a Merchant of Steel, which is nice. It's like you're just almost guaranteed to find something good for it. Whereas like with a sweeper, if you get large stone and endless, like maybe you could use the large stone, but you're pretty sad. Like you're sad that you didn't find quick or multi-strike, and now it's like you kind of visited a Merchant of Steel without really getting a nice buff for that unit.
I think that's the most versatility with it, is just that like because you have 2 multi-strike, which is basically 2 shops worth of upgrades, you really can just kind of go all in on the first shop and spend the rest of your time not having to, multi-strike hunt, and you can just focus on how do I make this thing work. So excuse me, sorry. Apparently I offended somebody because no, I think it's I have sometimes when it's like just really, really solid by itself and works really well. It does have a lot of applications that a lot of the other units don't have, including the sweep units. It's really good as a reform unit, much better than any other Awoken unit as a reform unit. It's really good in rage decks, like getting something like I mean Alpha Fiend, right? Like sweepers are also very good with Alpha Fiend, but it's also very good with Alpha Fiend. You're guaranteed at least 15 as long as it's hitting. So I mean, I think like there's a lot of versatility out of it.
Yep.
And
I mean, it has good upside. It starts from a very, very weak spot. So like you can't use it before visiting a Merchant of Steel.
That's very true. It won't help you early game unless you get an immediate Merchant of Steel upgrade on it.
Which you mean if in Ring 2 you probably do, but like maybe you miss, like you don't get the large stone, or you have to settle for plus 10 and plus 25 health. Then it's not the best. It'll like you need cards to make it more solid.
Yeah, I think it just needs like the scaling and then the spells for scaling or the infusions for scaling. Well, it's one of the best units to go with Paraffin Enforcer. Just I think Rage builds really well on it. That's probably it. Because it is so strong, like it has to start from a really weak spot. That's it.
It's also a weird spot because like more multi-strike doesn't, I mean, it obviously adds like more multi-strike's good, but it will just die. And that's the biggest problem. Unless you're doing something like a Primordium build with like superfood, then you're getting your health from Primordium and you can kind of like justify it. But I would say, I mean, my personal feeling is it's somewhere between light and dark orange. Certainly would not put it in red. And I think out of the three that you mentioned, Gabriot, I think it's the least consistent of the three. I think the sweep is just much more consistent in general. But I also really like the Animus a lot. So maybe we leave it at front of orange right now and pop it up later, depending on the other choices.
Okay.
Yep. And one of the hollows.
The good hollow.
The good hollow. Yeah, unfortunately.
It's the good hollow. I mean, by the definition of the yellow category, I think it fits that very well.
See, I don't think so. I think if you start, I think if you self-infuse it, and especially if you have restores, that run is basically won. It's like, if you think about it, now your starter card is giving 8/8 stats to your backliner in that case. Once I started doing that self-infusion, it is it's actually like, I can't believe I didn't use this unit that much for a long time. Now it's like, if I see it and I have restores, or even in root seeds, if I have a decent amount of rejuvenate, it's like, it almost feels auto win. It's like pretty crazy how much scaling you get out of this thing.
But the wait, how much HP do you get from the infusion?
Infusion gives you plus 10 plus 15, or is that too high? It's something like that.
I think it was 15/15.
Is it 15/15? So 15/15, and then you get the cultivate trigger.
Oh, you're right, and then you also get the 60 extra health from the summon, and so you
get a freaking massive tank, and then your backliner gets at least 8/8 per turn. As long as you're doing one restore per turn, it gets at least 8/8 per turn. Once from the initial, once from the rejuvenation.
Right.
And that's not including things like engraph and all the other garbage you can get through the game.
Right.
That just
spell chain engraft.
Right. Yeah.
I actually really also just like the infusion. I really like it on things like Animus of Will, or anything that, like, even a sweeper. and you can then frontline with your unit and just stack regen, and it just builds itself up as it takes damage. Like that's also quite good.
Yeah, if you make that infusion onto a unit early and you know you're doing like an overstack build and you have like a holdover Glimmer or Wildwood, it's like so many rejuvenation procs to your or cultivate procs to your floor.
Yeah, I
pretty
mean
nice.
I mean overstack floors. I mean, as long as you have some good units, overstack floors would always work. But but because it's 3 pips and also you probably need a backliner, the space might be a problem. The space issue.
I mean, I guess it
yeah.
depends on what you get though, like because it's all the blackliners you want with it are 2 pip.
Right.
Well, I mean, you're talking about infusing, right? So.
Oh, that's right. It goes to 4 pip if you infuse it.
And I think it's usually worth. I'll either, if I think I can solo ring 3 with the hollow, I'll infuse it before. But usually I do the infusion after ring 3, and I take the pip upgrade in advance. Just kind of getting ready for that. Yeah, because it's like it sucks not to have a draw upgrade, but I don't know. I feel like the value you get from that self-infused hollow is just ridiculous. Like you don't even need anything else. Like you don't even need like the razor sharp edges at that point. I'll still take them, but it's just wild scaling.
But then you can't really put your champion on the same floor, right?
You don't do it with your champion. You do it with another unit.
Yeah. Right, unless it's like Brawler Prince or something. I've done it with that. But,
I mean, if you have the pip space, Wildington, but it's also and there's also the ultimate combo, which is Primordium, where you stack all the stats under Primordium, which then comes over and then comes back and then goes over. But the problem with that one is that then you have just one big fat unit that kills the front unit, and then everything kills your pyre. But
yeah, just get the furnace tap.
Either that or get trample. Trample also works.
Yeah, trample. Yeah.
I've had Awoken Hollows.
There's nothing to do with Awoken Hollow at that point.
Yeah, it is. It actually is because
no, it's not.
Because you can get stats. I've gotten an Awoken Hollow with more than 5,000 damage and health.
Yes,
you can't do that with any other unit.
It does not matter if you have 400 or 5,000.
It does matter with trample. It does matter because then everything on the floor dies, including divinity. But no, it's actually a little bit of a trap because you end up, unless you get multi-strike somehow, you're just screwed. But if you don't, if you have another unit, it's quite good. Really good with Dante.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I can see it working. It's also very good with these 2 cards are very good with each other. But yeah, it works really well with multi-strike. So we guess we can put it like.
I put it in the same area.
I would say like
it is
just beside.
Really bad with imps. It's really bad with morsels. Very important to note.
Yeah.
By the way, that's a change. Morsel getting cultivate should change. I don't understand.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree.
Yeah.
It's like there's already a lack of synergy between those clans. Like, can we at least have the morsels not destroy the cultivates?
Yeah, I mean, imps is like okay, whatever.
Right.
I get it. But morsels, I don't. Anyway.
Yeah, they've changed so many things with the morsels not taking anything, and then
this one's still
existing for some reason.
Yeah.
I feel like Edgefire also shouldn't get it. It's like why does Edgefire exist? It's just there to steal the stuff.
Edgeprior.
Cultivate could have well, the priority unit isn't a keyword, so never mind. I'd say cultivate only works on champions or priority units, but that doesn't actually. There's no priority unit. That's not a thing.
It is. It used to be okay in like machine gun sentient builds. I would take it. The problem now is that in machine gun sentient builds, it dies because Divinity has sweep, and then even if Divinity doesn't, other things have sweep, and you're sentient. Yeah. Anyway, it's not great. And then its infusion is okay for specifically rejuvenation trigger builds, just to get one more rejuvenation trigger. But yeah, I think there's too much minus cost for this to be good. There's so much minus cost these days. With the -2 now, -1, and all the events that make your spell 0 cost. Like I feel like it's very easy to have an entire deck of 0 cost healing spells.
I feel like it works on so little cards. Like it's not going to work on a Wildwood Sap, like a spreading. If it worked on spreading spores, maybe I could find.
Yeah, if it
reasons
worked on
for it,
Wildwood
but-
Sap and Spreading Spores, I would definitely consider it more valuable. I still wouldn't use it, honestly, but
Right,
I wouldn't
right.
take
Still
that.
probably wouldn't use it.
I think that this should be the unit with Cultivate. It would
Yeah,
make way more sense.
yeah.
And I would have it be Cultivate 1 on any rejuvenation trigger on the floor. That would be cool. Even if it's just one, it would build itself up a little bit, but then after a certain point, it builds up everything. Like, what if it was actually think about that? What if it was like a Guardian Stone for the floor, but with +1/+1 every rejuvenation trigger? That'd be
that could
cool.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's
So like Keeper,
that can
Guardian
actually
Stone,
work.
that kind of would fit.
Yeah, it can.
I
I think it works because the healing is actually not guaranteed, and then it's less common than the incant triggers. So yeah, it's actually would be pretty good.
I think this one is way better when you're considering like non-divinity runs,
Mhm.
where it can actually stay alive.
And when you don't need scaling that's insane, you just need sustain or you just need moderate growth. I think it's quite good. It's a good climbing tool. It's just really bad at Covenant 25 going for Divinity. So, I mean, I would put it in green because I think it's unplayable in its current state at Covenant level 25.
Yeah.
But I mean, the options like Rejuvenate, Cultivate, I don't know what else you would do. Is there a way to make this work that doesn't require it to have Cultivate?
If there is like a thing that it's like the unit that if we can have a unit that doesn't take a space, I don't know how would that work, but like this.
I mean, I don't think
just don't take the
double the impact of a rejuvenation, double all rejuvenation effects. Would that be good?
Or maybe just like
I mean, I
basically
think we gotta evaluate it based on what it is rather than try to work
How to make it better. Yeah, we won't workshop it. Just put it in F here, and we'll call it a
Yeah.
day.
You might even need a new tier created for it. 'Cause it's that bad.
It's really bad. I said I will sometimes take its essence as a way to deal with divinity, similar like you do with Steelworker. But as a unit, I would never take it.
Is the stream paused for anybody else?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know, Nathaniel, Joe, something's wrong with your.
Yeah, I think you have it minimized. Oh yeah, there we go.
There we go.
oh, right, okay, right, because I had it right. I had the window minimized. Okay, yeah.
Now we
Okay,
get to skip a lot of spells. Husk Hermit.
There is a lot of spells.
Yay! Move it up. Move it up. So it's pretty mediocre, but it has an important word on it in the middle there that begins with S and ends with P, and that makes it way better.
Yeah.
I just think
also its essence should be sweet. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. and it irritates me that it's not. I think sweep should have at least one unit should give essence sweep, and I don't think it would be broken if it was one unit in the game. But anyway, I'll get off my
It'd be broken
soapbox.
if you add essences to champions, but you can't. So
Yeah, and since you can't, it's fine. But anyway, no, it's really good.
Like I think honestly, I think the essence is okay too. Because like Shattered Shell, like basically on a weak unit like Animus of Will or Shattered Shell, like you don't want to invest an upgrade slot on the health, and so I'm okay with it sometimes.
So if you're putting this onto Shattered Shell, you're insane because putting Shattered Shell onto this is just purely better.
Yeah, I mean,
it's objectively better.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. The other way around is better, but then you have the space health, right?
The only other reason the other way could be better is if you already pre-upgraded your Shattered Shell.
I've done that, but it's a minor difference. Obviously, you go with the other way around, but the base 30 health means that you don't have to worry. Like it's not an emergency getting health on it. And spikes are not going to kill it unless you just ignore it entirely.
And also, razor sharp edge works actually works pretty well because you don't really need to worry about the health.
Yep, I think it's solid.
I think that the fact that it has 30 health is what makes it the best sweeper in my eyes. You can now not, I generally have to add 25 HP to any other sweeper in the game. But with this one, I could do quick and multi-strike or like double multi-strike. I'm kind of free to do that, and I'll probably be fine. Like I'll survive other sweepers. I can put as many razor sharp edges as I want. Spikes could be questionable if my scaling sucks, but that's just always going to be there, even if I add 25 or not. I think Husk is the best sweeper in the game, personally.
Do you think it's better than the Shatter Shell?
Yeah,
I think so. Not like massively, but if they're side by side, I'll almost always take Husk.
I mean, the Shattered Shell scaling is actually kind of slow.
Yes, that's the problem.
That's true.
Like you think about razor sharp edge, like if Shattered Shell clears an entire floor during divinity, one razor sharp edge. So it's just like it's not that great.
Right.
I mean, we're not talking about Stygian right now, but I do like the sweeper, this frostbite sweeper as well. But the lower health is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's rightly. It doesn't solo. You have to have, regardless of what sweeper you have, it needs a ton of support for scaling, but it's very, very good. Yep. It's not an auto win, but it is the backbone of most Awoken builds as a sweeper of some kind.
I agree.
Yeah. I think it's just sweeper. I think I only learned about sweepers being really good when I joined that tournament. Previously, I just thought multi-strike, but then there's sweepers. Sweepers can deal with everything and don't really necessarily need multi-strike. Yeah, we live in a sweeper world.
Who's up next?
Shard Hanover?
Yeah, their ugly stepsister.
Maybe even less useful than Edgefire.
Yeah, that one is definitely lower. I mean, it doesn't matter that it's lower than the other one, but it is.
Yeah.
And the essence should be good, but it's not.
It's really not. It's crazy how it's not good, right?
Yeah, right.
Like if the essence was the other thing, if the essence was its text, I would use it sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
But it's not.
You could make that work on a Thorned Hollow, probably.
Even not even a Thorned Hollow. If it was like just on a backliner and a bristling build, totally fine.
Right.
It's just on a 2 health unit.
So what's its
And-
essence?
Its essence is add 5 shards on resolve, or I fed spikes to all units on the floor on resolve.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not.
So I've used it in Divinity, specifically with Little Fade, to speed up the how fast the boss dies. But I don't think it was actually needed to win. So.
It's flying kills with you sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I think I don't know if we talked about this before, but spikes in general are in a tough spot because for Divinity right now you need 30 spikes to kill backliners, and that's just a ton of spikes to get without a unit starting with them. The only unit that starts with the highest spikes is Bristling Sentient, and I mean it's
You'd have to go
still
full
not great.
Bristling.
The worst
too.
part about this unit, maybe not the worst part, but a bad part about this unit is it's rare. So the corner cases where I think it would be useful is like floors 1 through 3, where you have a small amount of spikes and that'll get you over thresholds. But it's a rare card, so it's not going to usually help you there.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the when I see like the other awoken spells, we can just see like adaptive mutation, channel song. This one is good here, the sapwood, but and obviously the quick the Wobble Tome, but like when compared this to the other ones, I mean the other ones are just better. Like why would you pick this guy? And it also costs 1 space, and you need the space for your other units.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's I think it would need, and this is true of like all of these 1 pip non-imp units. And I guess no, it's stones and imps. Stones and imps are good. Everything else is 1 pip that's pretty trash. And I think they all just need like I guess tombs as well. I forgot about tombs. But I just need more health, honestly. Like if it lived longer by default, I think I'd be more willing to invest in it. Like if it had 25 health or 15 health or whatever, something it's just so low and it dies so easily. It's hard to take it and invest in it.
Yeah, honestly, if it was just 30 health with no attack power, I don't think that'd be unbalanced.
No, and I think it would still not be amazing. It'd just be average.
Yeah,
It'd
it's still
be
probably
usable.
You still have to give up pips, and it's not going to live forever if you
Yes.
ignore it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Awoken has just so many large units, and the champions are pretty big too. So
Yeah, you're certain for Pip as it is. It's hard to fit these channelers on a floor just for
yeah, and
effective.
they only work with other units. You can't have them by themselves. They don't
Right.
do anything by themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, here's the other sweeper.
Shattered Shell. It has sweep, therefore it's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's less, as we talked about, it's less good out of the box than Husk Hermit. I think 20 health for a slay effect is not a good trade. It's good, like the slay effect is good, but yeah, you're guaranteed to meet opposition. It's going to get hit by something.
Yeah. And it doesn't, yeah, I mean, it doesn't scale very well, even though it has a scaling effect.
Yeah, I feel like ring 3, maybe ring 4 is where I most feel the benefit of that slay effect. And it's like I'll often to win I have to purposely like try to trigger it. But yeah, even though there's more enemies late game, it just by late game, if that's your only scaling, you're in a rough spot. And It's going to be a tough
I
run.
mean, the first wave, 70 health minimum.
Right.
And how do you get 70 health or 70 damage? Sorry, even with 2 multi-strike, how do you get
Yeah.
70 damage?
Damage shield
first
too.
wave from slate triggers. It never happens. So I think it's a little bit of a problem.
Right. It's still good though. In general, I think it's the second best sweeper in the game. I think I prefer it to the Stygian ones, and I think I prefer it to Glareminder.
Actually,
I like the spell weakness one and like a
What?
lot.
Well, Silliphite, yeah.
Yeah, the
I
IG
don't.
Silophite I like because I like spell weakness builds. I don't think it's as good. Anyway, we're not talking about them right now.
Yeah.
I'm playing with one right now. But...
So the biggest problem that I have as well with slate triggers in general right now is like I hate to work around them. It's so annoying to play around slate triggers. For me,
I usually
personally,
ignore it.
Yeah, I usually just ignore it and then let it happen and just have my like main scaling damage cards or infusions, and then I just let the slay trigger happen when it happens. Yeah, it's not a good practice.
there's some pretty weird slate triggers you can do as well. I mean, the obvious one that I don't think everybody knows about is the Gorge effect on Shadow Eater. Will trigger slay. So from an essence perspective, there's some like unique stuff. But again, I hate slay triggers right now because it's so hard to work around when you have like massive numbers you're dealing with all the time. It's, I don't know. It's more irritating to me than fun to try to like math out
Yeah.
killing things. And then you get irritated. I get irritated because you'll take something like bristling and you're like, sweet, bristling. Oh, shattered shell. Now what do I do? It's just annoying. But anyway, that's a personal thing because I don't like math right now. But.
And if you can find quick either through the Animus of Speed infusion or the shop upgrade is iffy because it does run into this problem of it kind of needs health. So it's like,
and then you're either gonna multi-strike. How do you scale? It's tough.
Right. So it's like maybe the tome could be a good answer too. So like if you do get quick, then you don't, it'll naturally just get its slays. Predator Wildenton can screw it up though. The
other thing I like a lot is this is actually one of the units I'm okay putting Animus of Will infusion onto. And then as long as you have any type of damage or buff intrinsic, and then it's fine. Like because it doesn't need a lot to get started. And the minus 15 doesn't matter because it's only minus 15 base. It doesn't actually affect post buffs, which is nice.
Yeah, and if you start with the blank slate, it's only a 3 or 5 attack, and then you just have the minus 15. It just goes down to 0. It doesn't really go down to negative.
It's just multi-strike minus 3, which is not bad at all. But yeah, I think it's slightly behind House Permit. I think it's on par with Animus. I might bump Animus up because I think it's on par with Animus in terms of my success rate with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think I agree. I was looking at the Animus and the Hollow on the same floor, same level there, and it's a little bit wrong
Weird.
there.
Next.
Steelsinger.
I really like Steelsinger.
Yeah, it's janky, it's gimmicky, but
it's super jank.
Yeah, it's fun. So
it has the most fun factor. It's like Little Icarus. It's like Bounty Stalker. It's about fun. I think it's worse than all of those, but I think it's.
I agree. I hate the essence. I hate
Yeah. Why is the essence not permanent? I don't understand that. I don't think it's out of control to have it be permanent.
Yeah. All the other ones have permanent. All the other essence, the the bounty stalker, and then the other one, the overgorger,
Yeah.
they're
think-
I
all
guess
permanent.
The obvious huge drawback here, besides its cost and size, is it's nearly unplayable in a root seeds deck. Or I mean, you can, but it's
Yeah.
really bad.
I try to force it in root seeds so many times, and it's the most painful experience.
Unless you start with
I've had it work though.
something. And the other thing too is, and this is the thing with rejuvenation, is you think that it goes really well with regen. It actually doesn't. Regen only guarantees you 1 trigger per turn,
Yeah.
compared to all the spells that, like, you can trigger on the fly, and it's always at the end of turn, so it's delayed. It's
Yep.
Yeah, you want to
It's
trigger
really-
it as much as possible, and regen doesn't do that.
It's really, really good in the Ember Drain package, because the lifesteal triggers it. And if you get Furnace Taps and then you get lifesteal, you can get like 3 or 4 triggers in a turn. I've done that before. That's really fun. That's really, really fun and really strong.
I think on the Furnace Tap note, I think that's maybe my main qualm with the card is it's pretty reliant on multi-strike and or
Yeah.
trample, but it's like in this clan I have those 3 cards up above that aren't really that reliant on it. So like to me, I'd just rather have those most of the time, even though since Steel Singer is a rare and it's such a rarity to see it, I'll usually just take the Steel Singer and try to make it work. But it's a card that has produced some of my most frustrating runs in my life. Like
I
just
think
trying to make it work.
it's probably the weakest of all of the new rares.
Yeah.
And even then, it's still better than some units. I think it's
It's
like
the best rare for Awoken.
This is also very true. Awoken has absolutely atrocious rares. I say that. I actually like Vine Mother a lot. We'll come to that, but anyway,
I
the
used
rest
to like
are.
Vine Mother.
But I would say it's like front of yellow, back of orange. Probably front of yellow is what makes sense for me. It's very
Yeah.
niche.
It's very niche. It's so much fun with sketches and glimmer and stuff like that. But
Yeah, it's fun. It is a fun card. It is not necessarily a good card. And I guess there's a difference between the channelers. Like if the channelers were fun, if there was like a kind of mini game you could play with them, I'd probably take them.
Right.
But they're not fun. They're just misery.
And I guess another nice thing about the Steel Singer is before you get it going, unlike Overgorger, you can plop it down and it will do things. It has a ton of health. If you have any sort of big heals, it'll kill any boss early game. Clear some waves. So it has that going for it for sure.
on the same note, those same situations, the 3 cost is kind of rough.
Yeah, you
Like,
can't play top if you have another unit.
And it has to solo. Like you
Right.
can't, you won't. The first 3 rings, you won't put anything else with it other than imps and morsels. So it's a little bit awkward.
Yeah, and you probably won't have you won't have that many healing cards to play on it, and except for restores.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can see like this, I did a screenshot. So this is my current card. I still have not mastered this card yet. You can see that it's still gray.
Just gotta have it along
The
for
last
the ride.
card for me to master was Vine Mother. Surprisingly.
I could
And it was
see
yeah. Anyway, we won't talk about that. I had a lot of games trying to get Vine Mother.
mine was Lug Slider. And
I got that very early on, actually. I had a fantastic Lug Slider build the first time I got it. It's off stream. The recording got corrupted. I was so mad because it was an amazing run and the recording got corrupted and I can't show it to anybody.
See, I'm the opposite. I recorded it to prove that I won, but the Steam Cloud messed up my save, so it's still not stamped. And I refuse to stamp it now.
So Thorn Hollow is next.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to be one of my favorite units.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's okay.
This was the first unit I liked in the game when I was learning the game. I was like, man, this is the card. Like, I always want to see this one.
Yeah.
Fun.
Mm.
So what was it before? To rejuvenate.
Same
It
thing.
was always rejuvenate. It just didn't suck.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I
Scaling.
think it
It actually
didn't.
killed things.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It didn't say it wasn't. There wasn't the keyword rejuvenate. It was like heal, and then you get the thorns.
They added rejuvenate after it left beta, so it was on release. Rejuvenate. I'm pretty sure. In
Yeah, I
beta,
know.
it wasn't. In beta, it was when healed.
Oh.
But I think after beta they changed it to rejuvenate. Somebody who is more knowledgeable than me can confirm.
I think
I'm pretty sure in beta there was still rejuvenate trigger.
Didn't
They're
they
not.
They upped it to 60 max health, right? Not that it really
No,
matters, but
40. It's 40. It should be 40.
oh.
It might have been lower than that though. I remember it being significantly lower than the others and being disappointed. But
So I thought they'd kind of stealth patched it in the DLC because it wasn't getting used, and it still just doesn't get used.
yeah,
Or maybe it was
I
like
think
Spikes 3, maybe.
I think if the rejuvenate spikes increased even more, it'd probably be a little bit more playable. Or maybe if it was one, and the problem with added the whole floor is you don't want spikes in the back. It's like pretty worthless unless you have a gnarled route.
Right.
But I think it needs to get spikes faster. But I mean, how fast can you get spikes? Even if it was like 10, like you still can't kill a lot of the units.
Yeah, I feel like if this was similar to Awoken Hollow, where the infusion just gave its rejuvenate effect, I could make it work with a self infusion. I don't know if it would be broken at that point. I would say that it's no more broken than Little Icarus or any of these other things that can just clear floors, but maybe it's
5
too
spikes
easy
per
to do that.
rejuvenate. I mean, even if you're getting 20 spikes per turn, like
Right.
to kill a mini boss in Divinity, that's still like almost 100 rejuvenation triggers. Like it's really hard to get those kind of numbers out of spikes.
Right.
But
Like,
it may be
maybe
what
have
is
it
needed.
like just buff itself instead of rejuvenate, since rejuvenate just trigger, you can just have spikes on your backline, or which you don't really want.
Well, it only gives it to itself. But you mean like in general? I think there's too much of like grant stats on stuff. I like the idea of granting buffs. This is the only thing that grants spikes to anything, right? Like there's nothing else that grants spikes other than the trigger from what's it called?
The
other
shard
channel.
channeler.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the idea of having charge generated through something is good. It's just too slow. This doesn't go fast enough.
Yeah, it's
I
just
agree.
there are a lot
I
of
mean-
cards that are just too slow. The scaling is just too slow.
If you're not going for Divinity, it's still amazing. It's just if you're going for Divinity that it's way too slow.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, the 65 max health isn't enough.
Yeah. They moved it up to
Surprisingly,
65.
right?
Yeah.
Surprisingly, it's still not enough.
Right. Turns out 50 damage or whatever Shade Wings hurt.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, Shade Wings.
And it's also just because not only we could put Vine Mother on there, but not only is it that Shade Wings hurt, is that spikes are always after damage. There's no quick spikes. There's no. Yeah. That's what makes it hard. Vine Mother.
Yeah, I'm curious if you guys use Vine Mother much in the DLC, because I was a pretty staple of mine before, because I felt like I could either make it a tank, or even if it wasn't a tank, I would just set it down on a floor and I'd probably get basically 3 to 4 turns of free draw upgrade out of it, and maybe a free incant here and there. But like now I can't do that because I put it down, it's just going to die. And I also just can't afford to like have a priority unit serve that. So I find myself hardly ever taking it anymore. But
I'll
should be a
occasionally
good
take
unit.
I'll take it for diligent occasionally, but
Oh, right.
yeah. But yeah, I guess that counts as niche. But
Yeah, it's like I used to pick it like just for it's just the thorn food, but you on a unit and it like having the extra draw every single turn is just very nice. And but right now you need like you need to actually buff it with like some sort of health, and then even scaling on it. And then like why would you put your scaling stuff on this unit than like other better tanks out there?
If you get though, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say another niche use I have for it is I'll use it on patient as well as like just absorb melee weakness, put endless on it. But it's very niche.
I like to use it also. I mean, I think you can do not full. Also, I think is the image still showing Thorn Hollow for you guys? There goes my mother. I don't think you can do pure sting builds, but I found stings to be actually way more useful with the artifacts these days because Pierce is so good. And so if you get the Pierce artifact, like Vine Mother becomes very strong because you can kill a lot of like the early garbage pretty easily. By the time you're getting like the heavy armored stuff, usually we're drawing 4 or 5 stings, and that's 4 or 5 times 20 piercing. That's enough to kill some of the frontliners pretty easily during the Divinity fight, which I quite like a lot, including the draw. I think it's not bad. And even though it does slow down scaling a bit, I haven't minded recently taking deflection units. Taking 1 deflection unit is not, I don't think it's terrible. Just to kind of like have something that can absorb hits. And even if I don't think I wouldn't. I guess the endless can work as like a deflection, but even just getting like a large stone on it is not terrible. It'll survive at least 4 or 5 turns during Divinity, and well, not with pure hosting. You have to do something else with it, but it can survive for a little bit longer because the first couple of waves, apart from the one Shade Wing, the first couple of waves don't actually do a lot of damage in Divinity fight. Specifically, the first wave doesn't. And so if you play on the top floor, you can get at least 3-4 rounds out of it before it dies. That's not terrible. And it's low cost. It's 1 Ember unit. I think if it was a bigger Ember unit, like the last one, then I wouldn't like it as much. But as a 1 Ember unit, I don't hate it. I also don't like that so many of the hollows don't have the summon trigger. I think they all should, for consistency's sake. But that's me also griping about constantly griping about tags. I think tags should be consistent and reliable, and they're not, and it irritates me. But anyway, that's just a personal gripe.
Yeah, today I learned it's a hollow. That's the first I even knew.
Yeah, I just noticed that hollow tag too.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like all hollows should have summon triggers. Why don't they have summon triggers?
Right. I guess technically it's Infusion does, but I never use the Infusion.
Oh yeah,
it should be
what
a
is
good
the
one.
Infusion?
I guess.
I don't even know.
It's Happy Thorn Lord.
Yeah.
It's Thorn Lord without anything else. Wait, no, you get some health, right? It's health and Thorn
maybe a
Lord.
little bit of health, yeah.
Yeah,
which
but
I guess could be good. I just never use it.
It is pretty good. I was going to say the other thing that's also good for is in-camp builds. It's quite good. So you're getting an extra spell every turn, guaranteed.
Right.
Also, Hart mentioned in the chat that the Thorn Hollow we showed was outdated. It's summon plus 60 and 3 spikes per rejuvenation trigger is the current live version stats.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Which is still just not good enough.
No, it's still just not good enough. And so I think Vine Mother, yeah, belongs in yellow. I don't think it's trash, but it's not great. It's very niche.
Definitely niche.
I guess I should update my Thorn Hollow image there.
That's fine. And last,
No, not
and
last.
sometimes least. Oh no, we have two more.
Ooh.
Okay, second to last, and also really crap.
Yeah, this is one of those where it's like on paper it seems like it should be all right, but it just sucks. It's like
Yeah,
It's better than the other two, but it's
that's not saying much.
yeah. I guess I've used it maybe once or twice.
Not
I just-
me. I just take the
I mean,
boss upgrade.
Is it the only no, you can start with Edge Prior and either one of these two, right? So
Yeah,
Edge
either
Prior
one
or
of
this
these
one
two.
are uncommon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Only the Sharp Channeler is rare.
I mean, I usually remove Edge Prior with more haste than the Custodian, but that's
Yeah.
about all I can give it.
You can fit it in usually. So.
Yeah, it's
It's
just this
basically
clan.
one cost, draw one next turn.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's like in the clan, if there were ever a clan that didn't need this card, this is the clan.
Honestly, Awoken is the clan of having all the things you don't need in this clan.
Yeah.
It overdoes its own theme because none of all of its stuff either doesn't stack or stacks too much. It's
And
Yeah.
even I guess I've used the infusion a little bit too, but even the infusion is underwhelming. Like I'd rather just get some stats or something on a card than have to. It's weird because like the draw upgrade is so good, right? But for whatever reason, just putting it on a unit just isn't that good.
It's because it's Awoken. And
Yeah.
you have in Awoken, you have Root Seeds, and you have Engraph, and you have Sting, and you have
Preserve Thorns.
Preserve Thorn. Like it's just way too much draw. There's already way too much draw in the deck.
Yeah.
And the mother of them all, of the Awoken Growl Spike.
Yes.
Oh, yep.
Anyway, we can
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the best of the worst.
Yeah, the best unit in the game.
So okay, so now we're on to again. Why does this
Stupid-
unit not have a summon trigger?
Yeah, and why is its infusion just objectively worse than Consumer of Crowns?
So if it had its own thing as an infusion, I think I wouldn't hate it as much actually.
Mhm.
Because imagine putting that on like a Titan Sentry
Yeah.
or an Endless Imp or an Endless Tomb. Like that would be pretty good.
Right,
Like that would actually be legitimately good.
right.
But it's not. It's just bad.
Yeah, and the infusion just doesn't make any sense. It's like what that, huh? Reduce cost?
I don't understand it. I think it's as well like the biggest problem with Sapwood is its health total, which is why I don't know why it doesn't have a summon health.
Yeah.
Like it needs it more than any other hollow. This one needs the summon health, and it doesn't have it, and I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, if it had summon health, this could be workable.
Plus 60. If it had summon plus 60 like the others, I think it would be actually really good.
Yeah, I would use that.
But it's not. It's 30. So it dies in one hit. You get one Ember, and then you pay 2 if you put Endless on it. It's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it's
someone can
difficult to
fix
use.
this.
I mean, the fact that it costs 2 is so bad.
It's
Can't
weird
even
because oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even like pay. Like, if it dies in one turn, you don't even get your thing
Yeah.
back.
No,
Not even Ember neutral.
no, it can very much be Ember, not neutral.
It's weird because, like, in the grand scheme of units that suck, it technically sucks less than the units I really, really hate. But I take this as little as all of them. It's
Well,
like
it's also rare, like so.
Right,
You can't even
right.
plan your build around it. Like,
right.
This is what gets really awkward is when you get 2 rare units in Awoken. As this happened to me actually in a run recently, is you open up the shop, multi-strike, open up your banner, Vine Mother, Wilting Sapwood. I took Wilting Sapwood and I didn't win the run, but I did pretty well. But yeah, it's just not.
Do you remember when they buffed the attack on this?
Yes, it didn't make a difference.
I
It
feel
just
like
needs a summon trigger. I feel like a summon trigger would make it actually viable.
yeah.
Yeah, it's also 3 pips.
Right.
I thought it was 2 pips, but never mind.
I mean, honestly, you could leave this as is and say rejuvenate, gain 1 ember, and it still wouldn't be amazing.
Right. It's just cycling itself at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you could recycle and stack regen on it. That would be kind of cool. You could, and then at the end of your turn, you get 1 for next turn. Like that would, okay, maybe that would be playable, but it still is like, another thing too is like I feel like Awoken doesn't need Ember nearly as much as the other clans.
Nope. Yeah. Yeah. What other than a big Awoken rail spike? What do you need Ember for?
The big Awake isn't as good anymore. It's okay, but it's not amazing. And Cycle of Life is not nearly as good. I mean, you take it for the health, but it's not good for the spikes. So I feel like a lot of the more expensive Awoken cards aren't as good as the cheaper ones anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and well, the Spreading Spores used to be good, but it's not.
Now I really want this to be Rejuvenate though, because I think that'd be so cool to like drop a whole bunch and then do an X cost card would be sick. Maybe that would be broken though. I don't know. With a Awoken Rail Spike in the game.
Yeah, I think they might want like to prevent infinite with this card, but there are so many other infinite combos.
You can already infinite with this card. Torches.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So it's not like you can do it. You can still do the infinite ramp of Ember with it if you have the right card combo. I guess it's harder because you're gonna eventually kill the Wilting Sapwood, but it's possible. It means Inferno costs 3 or 2 when you play it on that floor.
I guess if you had Offering Monument, 1 cost, Cycle of Life, and a Torch, that could be an infinite.
Go to town. All right. Anyway, I think it's either front of green or back of yellow. It's too bad. I always hate too when like you have a card that like you can kind of see what they thought would be good about it, and it just in practice just doesn't work.
Right.
That's all.
I feel like Umbro would want this card. Like to me, I'm like, why not just make this be Emberforge, make it a priority? Morsel Master doesn't feel like a banner unit to me. Just make that a non-priority and then rework Sapwood to something different. Like, I don't know. That's just me rambling though.
What else would be? I'm trying to think what other stuff kind of fits in with the theme. I'm not really sure.
Maybe you could sap with your Sapwood.
Yeah,
I thought about that, but it doesn't really fit the theme of the clan.
Right.
No, I mean, I think so. If I were to rework the clan, first thing I would do is if you're gonna have a thing first, because I like tags and tags are underused, I would have hollows be all the things that get summon, trigger, add health. I think that makes a lot of sense. And dramatically improves Vine Mother, dramatically improves Wilting Sapwood, puts them into, I would say, back of orange tier. They're still not good, but they're much more pleasant to take than they are right now. Are there really there's only 2 Animuses, right? Because there's not a third Animus. It's just the Animus of Will, Animus of Speed. No, that's not true. The Husk Hermit and Shattered Shell are Animuses.
I think they are, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're Animuses. Yeah, I think they're all fine.
Yep.
Shattered Shell and House Carver are Animuses. That's probably fine because they don't really have a thing. They're just like offensive trees, basically.
Yeah.
That's all the offensive trees. These are hollows are supposed to be the defensive trees.
Right.
Channelers need to get reworked. What do you do with channelers? Do you make them thicker? Like if they're all thicker, are they better, or do you need to rework them completely?
Yeah, I think that is actually a pretty good idea.
I still don't think I would take them if they were thick, because I mean, you could technically add a $25 or 25 gold HP upgrade to them relatively easily, depending on your map path. And I still am like, I just don't think I use them. Like, I feel like they have to do something more impactful to just, because like we've said, there is not much pip space to go around with Awoken. Most of the hollows are 3 pips. Things like Animus want a large stone. Like, you gotta justify an entire pip for something. I feel like it has to do something more. Like a guardian, a guardian's token or totem or whatever is worth justifying because it gives armor to the whole floor, which is a great effect. None of these 3 do anything on that level. It has to be
even
at
sap
least
totem,
that good.
right? Sap totem's like crazy good for. I think the problem with all of them, all the channelers, is so I mean, compare like we talked about this in Hellhorn. You have not Branded Warrior. You have Deranged Brute, who is kind of in the same vein as the Shard Channeler, but it's such a bigger effect.
Right.
Like if Spikes was +3, I would take it and I would try to make it fit. +1s is just not enough. It just doesn't. Doubling your spike damage just isn't as good.
Or even just double your spikes that you have right now.
Like on summon, or just like
on a continuous effect.
I think that'd be too much. You could easily doubling anything that's exponential, natural exponential growth. I think is dangerous without huge restrictions. Personally, but
there's double rage, and rage is so easy to get.
Yeah, but I also feel like it's got a pretty heavy restriction. It's 3 cost and it consumes itself. Like, yeah, you can work around it, but I guess it's true. That is just double. I don't know. Edge Prior is the one I'm like most like. I feel like there's something you can do around healing that's much better or more interesting. Like double rejuvenation triggers, I think could be interesting. But the problem is there's only like 3 units that have rejuvenation triggers. 4. There's the hollows and then the sentient.
I really like I like that first idea you had where it just on its own cultivate do 1/1 to the whole floor. I mean, then you'd have to cultivate that unit, so you kind of have to guard your way to get a pretty good effect, but I feel like that would make sense. And you could get some pretty powerful stuff. I mean, you could get 2 or 3 of these on the floor and do some glimmer stuff. It's not
especially
OP, I
if
don't
it
think.
was similar to Guardian Stone, where you could put its effect out onto something else.
Yeah, if you could, infuse it.
Yeah,
So you
I
can
mean,
self-infuse.
Guardian Stone is not OP, so if that were to happen, like just +1/+1, then it shouldn't be OP.
And it's not a pure incant. It would be on rejuvenation,
and
which
it
is
would
like
be
very specific.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it would be
you'd have to literally restore the unit.
Yeah, it would be limited.
Right.
And then with draw,
I just want this thing reworked entirely, something not draw related.
well, what could you do with draw that's interesting? I'm trying to think about that.
Maybe it could take away your draw, kind of like Pyrogrow, and give some other benefit.
Or every 3 cards draw a card.
Oh, yeah, maybe like the what do you call that relic? The artifact? The yellow square thing.
Anyways,
the thing.
I have to drop off. Good luck with your
theory
fixing
crafting,
the game, workshopping. I have a thing in a few minutes, so I'll see you guys later.
Thanks, Narninian.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Yeah, that would be my thing, and that it's not it's not one time per turn. you can constantly, every time you play 3 cards, you draw a card. That I think could be really interesting.
Yeah.
And you could use it as a combo piece. Yeah, something like that I think would be more interesting. Like I think it's the difference between, so tombs are fine because their effects are crazy strong.
Yeah.
And so you don't mind that it's once per turn. Imps are fine because their effects are crazy strong and it's when you play them, which is why I think imps are also, in theory, better than tombs. And then you have these channelers who is just have a permanent flat effect, but it's so bad.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they need like some sort of either on summon or like immediate effect. Instead of like a more major effect than right now. These are just sort of, oh, it's just there, and I don't really feel anything when it's there. I'm gonna play these cards anyways. Like, do I really need the minus cost? Do I I have a lot of draw already? Do I really need more draw? And for the spikes are just, I mean, why would I even have spikes in the first place? It's just very too minor to of effect.
Yeah. Maybe spikes, because Shard Channeler was actually quite good before. When spike builds were like actually a thing, it was really good to see. I liked to see it.
Yeah.
It's really just how bad spikes are is what makes it so bad. And even Edge Prior wasn't nearly as bad before because it could survive. I think I always didn't love the one draw, to be honest, but it was still meh. But the other two really fell off with the DLC. And I think that's maybe what they should look at is like, how do we rework this so that these builds are viable again, that these units are interesting again?
Right.
I mean, after the DLC, like a lot of champions, a lot of cards just fell off. Their power level just cannot compete with the DLC. So they did buff a lot of cards, but some buffs are okay, some buffs are not strong enough. Just,
you know what I think is probably what's hindering it is that there's 2 games right now. There's the going for divinity game and there's the not going for divinity game. And I almost wonder if the solution is to actually have alternate versions of the game depending on whether you are or are not playing with the DLC. Because that would be the problem. If you make these cards too strong, it trivializes standard runs or pre-DLC runs, non-DLC runs. But they're so bad in the DLC that they're unplayable.
Yeah, I like a keyword, and I think a few artifacts need this as well. You could have a keyword that basically, it's like whatever clever term you want to say, but and then a number next to it, and like at that shard number, its effect gets opened up. So like something,
that's nice. Yeah,
like like a hammered chest plates or something.
And I wouldn't mind if that number was something like 150 or 200. Like you really have to dig deep to unlock its effect.
Right.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like it does the divine version, right? So you get the divine version of the artifact at 150 shards.
Right. I don't know how you'd display it. Maybe on hover only. Just have an icon that indicates it has that effect or something. Yeah. Because I guess it'd probably add a lot of text to the current card. Not much real estate there, I guess, on some of those, especially like the channelers, spike channeler and whatnot.
I mean, not necessarily. You could have it be number in brackets.
Yeah.
And then a note unlocks divine version at 150 shards.
Like if you hover that, yeah.
And then it switches to the other number once you unlock it on divine version.
Yeah.
That is a really interesting idea. That's a really interesting idea.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Maybe even Tethys could have that keyword.
Yeah, I was actually wondering about that. That like,
or all champs, really.
I think it would be cool if specifically it was if you went all in on one path.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go all in on one path, that the third paths always have a divine version based on getting 150 shards or something like that. That could be really interesting. And that like kind of addresses to a large extent their weaknesses. And other champs, you know, like some of them where you already go 3, you don't need to do much, or even like tone down the regular and then increase the to current state is the divine version. Thinking like Little Fade probably could do that,
Right.
and other things like that. But then you get something like Reaper Prince, who on divine gets trample.
Yeah.
Like make him playable, you know?
Right.
Interesting. Well, I also have to leave.
Yeah, I think
So I think we'll end, and then we can come back and do spells next time.
Yeah.
Yep. All
All
right.
right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.